This Rockets team should be a much better rebounding team than they were last year when they went small.
Harden will shoot it from the outside, and he picks up where he left off last season with a three.
James Harden is filthy, right? One of the biggest buckets in NBA history, ? Regardless of what you think about James Harden, there's no argument that he can flat out score the basketball. And currently, he's one of the best offensive players in the game. Now that we've said that, me being the giant James Harden and New Orleans Pelicans fan that I am, you think I would be all for James Harden going to the New Orleans Pelicans, but right now I have to say stop the nonsense. James Harden and Zion would be fun. There's no way around that. But the duo becomes a lot less fun for Pelicans fans if you have to trade Brandon Ingram, Kyra Lewis, Jackson Hayes, a 2021 first round pick, a 2021 second round pick, and a 2025 first round pick. That's a lot for a 31-year-old shooting guard that's not on the same timeline as Zion Williamson. I love James Harden, but do I want to ruin the Pelicans' future for excitement? No, it's an easy no for me. Bleacher Report said New Orleans may want to do this move because it's never too early for a small market team like the New Orleans Pelicans to work on convincing Zion Williamson he should stay around. There's one small flaw with that argument. The Pelicans could go out and win a championship right now, but if they suck and they don't have all those extra picks and promise that they have now, when it's time for Zion to make a long-term decision, Zion might say, bye-bye, New Orleans. That's an extreme scenario, but I'm sure you guys understand my hyperbole and my point. Man, this James Harden situation is absolutely messy. It feels like everybody is lying. This video, we're going to talk about it all. But before we go any further, be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. You will not want to miss another Get Like Coop video. And that's facts. You guys already know we're trying to build one of the biggest and best stream communities out. Following my stream would be major. The link to my stream is going to be down in the description below. Also, you'll find the link to my football channel there. Be sure to check it out. Lastly, dropping a like on this video goes a long way. The support is always welcome. A major shout out to everybody that likes and enjoys my content and just watches it, period. I want to get your opinions about the picture on the screen right now. Now, if this picture was truly how James Harden looked, it wouldn't be the first time we've seen James Harden out of shape, and it might not be the last time. But of course, I surely don't think this is a legitimate depiction of what James Harden actually looks like. We saw James Harden at training camp like 2 or 3 days ago. One thing that stood out to me was the shape that James Harden appeared to be in. He looked good, he looked fit, he looked healthy, and he looked active. I think it's funny because I do feel like this whole James Harden thing has come full circle. Earlier this year, we saw this guy super slim, or at least slim for James Harden. Yesterday, we were also actually able to get some game action footage of James Harden and John Wall. I don't think Harden looked out of shape at all. And I think this duo has a lot of promise if they truly do end up running it through the season. I feel like Harden and Westbrook were flashy. These guys showed us what we wanted to see, where Harden and Wall could potentially be substance, a better and more sound on the court product. Harden and Westbrook, their games never really meshed. I really do look forward to Westbrook shocking the league this season with Washington. Now, this is probably going to get me a lot of hate, especially with the news that we're going to discuss this video. A lot of people question the work ethic that James Harden has. I think it's better to question his commitment, because I think this guy works. You don't become one of the best scorers in the history of the game without working. James Harden plays a very skillful and tough game. You get that skill from putting in hours and hours of work. Is James Harden committed to the Houston Rockets? Well, I present to you guys the most controversial press conference interview, whatever you want to call it, of 2020.
Hey, James, do you still want the Rockets to trade you? And if so, why?
Right now, I'm just focused on being here. Today was good. Yesterday felt really good being out there. The first time since the bubble. Haven't really had an opportunity to do a lot of 5-on-5 work, but for my first time being out there, I think I felt pretty good. So
There's been so much change with this team. You've been with this team for 8 years. How would you describe the last few months and just your overall perspective on where this basketball team is at right now?
There's a lot of changes. Obviously, the entire coaching staff, some of the front office, a lot of the players. This is where we are. Coach has done an unbelievable job of just communicating with the guys and just putting the structure in and getting things going.
Tim McMahon.
James, what was the point that you were trying to get across when you went to Atlanta and Vegas when training camp was starting?
I was just training.
What were you training for?
The start of the NBA season.
How did going to Atlanta and Vegas help you there when the Rockets were starting training camp in Houston?
Just my personal trainers.
I feel like James Harden gave those answers because if he answers in any other way, he's going to face fines or get in trouble by the league, which I'm actually surprised he hasn't gotten in trouble already. This is going to shock some people, some maybe not so much. There have been a lot of reports that the Rockets have catered to whatever James wants. That's pretty much been the Rockets' philosophy since Harden has arrived in Houston. But right now, everything is pointing to the Rockets being done with James Harden and his nonsense. We've seen star player after star player come to the Rockets, fail, and then leave. One of those star players, Chris Paul. Man, I love that duo. I love Chris in New Orleans. I like this game at Wake Forest. I'm probably one of the biggest Chris Paul fans you could possibly meet. And of course, James Harden is James Harden. Even though I said fail for dramatic effect, I really don't feel like this duo failed. Failed to reach their potential, maybe. But man, Chris and James were so good on the floor, despite the chemistry issues and all. ESPN says one of Paul's biggest beefs with Harden was Harden occasionally opted not to participate in the Rockets' offense when the ball wasn't in his hands, sometimes barely stepping over half court while CP3 was doing his thing. And if you watched James Harden and Russell Westbrook this past season, a lot of the same things occurred. I've defended James in the past because he has such a high usage rate. You could see how the fatigue would set in, but at the end of the day, he should be involved off ball, even if that's just being ready to catch and shoot the ball. Sometimes I wonder what changed, because once upon a time, John Wall was saying, yes, Harden wants to be in Houston. And now when Wall is asked about Harden's desire to leave, Wall says, I don't try to ask him about it because that's his personal business. All I worry about is what we can do to make the Rockets the best team we can while everybody is here and move forward with that. That's tough. You want to know what's even tougher? Apparently, if the Rockets had multiple days off, everybody knew James Harden was going to go out and party, but he'd come back and have a 50-point triple-double, so nobody minded it. The mess gets even messier. There was one occasion in the Florida bubble where Harden waited to the very last second to get tested. That last second was right before the Rockets film session. Westbrook got mad. He said, start the film without him. Start without him. And Mike D'Antoni at the time said they just have to start over when Harden arrived, which didn't do much for Westbrook. Remember the reports about Westbrook leaving because of the Rockets culture? Yeah, that's tough. In the comments below, let me know what you think is going to happen with this whole situation. And does anything make sense? Clicking the video on the screen right now is a great way to support the channel. I'm Get Like Coop, bringing you guys the scoop until our next upload.